Adam Meyer. He's the manager of the Research and Knowledge Management Unit at the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness, where he leads policy and program design to drive impactful change in the agriculture sector through research and innovation. With over 15 years at Malpass and a background in business development and a broad range of program delivery, Adam brings a wealth of experience in crafting strategic initiatives that support Ontario's agriculture, innovation, and growth. He's passionate about fostering collaborative partnerships and advancing practical solutions for the sector. So welcome, Adam.
Well, thanks, Jen. Thanks, Kelly, for having me. I was humbled that you thought that I could speak from I think the agenda said the perspective of government. And I don't know that I can do that, but what I'll give is a perspective from government today. It'll be largely from my role, which is working within our research and innovation branch at the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Agribusiness. And I'm so impressed that our new acronym is on the slides. People have caught on to that. A renewed emphasis on agribusiness. So thank you to Elora for encouraging us to take a little bit of a different perspective, to think about KTT and GRIP as a team sport. I'm going to really lean into this today. I really encourage you to, I mentioned I'm going to be giving my perspective from the Research and Innovation branch. There's a host of my colleagues here today that are spread out very nicely, well done, from policy and program and our specialists and some folks from my team. And be sure to interact with them on the breaks. So in Elmira 2 nights ago, my niece was playing a game of hockey, and I grabbed a few photos, and I'm going to leverage these pictures because we've been encouraged to think about KTT as a team sport. I'm not a hockey expert. My kids play saxophone. They don't play hockey. You don't have to know anything about hockey to get something out of this, I hope. So Kelly and I are going to hopefully just reemphasize a number of things that Kelly touched on when she was speaking just a moment ago. She's defined KTT very well, really about driving the application of research to deliver real world impacts to support better decisions, and really recognizing that the non-linear aspect of how KTT works. From a government perspective, I'm really excited that we have a 10-year strategy in place at OMAFA that is called the Grow Ontario Strategy. Check it out. KTT is marbled throughout the whole thing. And I think you'll understand that term that I've just used. It really is supported by OMAFA's investment annually, approximately $70 million a year in the research and innovation space, much of which KTT is embedded in all of these program components. I love your wheel, Kelly. Kelly? But I used a hockey puck because we've got a team angle on this today. You could use the soccer ball. So driving knowledge into use in action really then requires us to promote awareness of those successes, and then feeds back into the knowledge creation component of this process that Kelly has described. The process is not static, it's not linear, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But this is happening across the sector, throughout the sector, in a way that has actually benefited from our evolving KTT model. I use the word optimizing KTT, but what I'm trying to say here is that our ministry has recognized that the approach to KTT has changed over time. And so we've been very open to evolving our model, the definition, broadening that, and trying to keep up with the fact that new ways of doing things, that's the whole point. And that we need to reflect that in how we approach the business as well. So my team made a new visual for me, and I really appreciated that. And then I ruined it by turning it into a hockey rink. So that was not hard for me to do though. But when you create a model, you have the opportunity to put yourself at the center of it. So I did that. But if you skate out to the middle of the ice and you look around, often we refer to this as an ecosystem. And so to Elric, I really appreciate the perspective of switching that to team. Ecosystem sounds pretty complex. team is a way to think about it that makes a lot more sense, I think. So yes, it's sure, you could describe it as a complex ecosystem, but each of us has a role in a team. And I think that's the right way to think about it. The ice in the background here, and for those that don't know hockey, the ice is the stuff that's all around everywhere. That's the research users, and they're everywhere. And to really challenge this nonlinear approach, we need to recognize that the users of the results of research are all throughout this very neat and very diverse team. I'm also really thankful that we have a rich team that is extremely diverse in Ontario. I know, Kelly, you mentioned that our scope and scale may not be the size or the magnitude of certain American models, but it is a solid team. And I think we certainly punch above our weight class. So I'm going to lean into this team sport approach a little bit more. There's an approach to effective teams or dysfunctional teams that's it's by an author named Patrick Lencioni. The model is over 20 years old, but it stood the test of time and it's basic enough that I understand it. So I'm going to use it. And his approach on effective teams is really looking at it from a dysfunctional angle, where teams that are not functional don't have trust. They're afraid of conflict. They lack commitment. They avoid being accountable. And they're not really attentive to results. And we can look at some of these principles about foundations of effective teams, I think from a KTT lens. And so I'm going to give some thoughts on a mapper's role through the lens of KTT under the principles of effective teamwork. And it starts with trust. And this has been a neat way. So thanks again, Kelly, for encouraging me to think about our KTT work in the approach of teamwork. So in teams, trust is the confidence amongst team members that their peers' intentions are good. And KTT, trust truly is that cornerstone for effective collaboration between the parties we've been talking about today. But I think when it comes to trust from a government perspective, we've taken some steps, I think, to build that trust. And it's a process. Trust takes time to build. But it's really the foundation of some long-term partnerships. A big part of that is our approach to partnerships with folks like Elora, but the University of Guelph, but consistently developing programs that foster partnerships. Increasing transparency is a big part of building trust too. We developed a new portal to share and give access to the public to all the research that we are investing in. Our new lab-free program has been out for a couple of years, so I can't call it new, but you'll see in a couple of slides how building partnerships has been really, really important through driving approaches to address our diverse sector needs. I need to also really emphasize probably one of the most important points from the government perspective is the role that our specialists play. They are relational people. They do their work through relationships, and that is our longest standing program in Omafra that is completely founded in trust. So I think it's appropriate that trust is the first piece to talk about. When I walked into the meeting today, I was feeling a little hesitant about using a horticultural and field crop example in a livestock room, but then I was really validated when I walked past the table and I heard someone mention the Agribusiness working group just a few minutes ago. I'm like, okay, I feel good about this. So this is an example of trust really in an organic way. It's a model that began with a couple of people talking, industry, someone had some neat ideas, and about innovating robots and creating a relationship with someone in our ministry to then build this out into a working group that has now 150 members that has worked on 20 robots with 6 different technology companies and is continuing to blossom. The secured funding started with a very small relationship built on trust. So it's a really cool model. You can find tons about it online. I'm not going to spend a lot more time on it, but I think the foundation of trust was extremely important in this piece, in this story, being successful. I think there's certainly a lesson to learn there. And these things best happen when they happen organically. The second is conflict. And this is something that none of us like. I tend to want to run away from that, but we have to recognize that this is a very diverse sector. Even if you're in a room with folks focused on livestock, it's still really diverse. And we have to recognize that if you have trust, then you can have those discussions that are tough. You can have active and open conflict, and we can recognize too that we do need unique solutions. It's not a one size fits all. We need to create that space for differing views. From a government perspective, we've tried to design our programs that reflect that. So one example is our KTT program at the University of Guelph that actually has a stream that focuses on understanding the new approaches to KTT and knowledge transfer, recognizing that there are hard to reach audiences. There are some challenges that are not addressed in the same way. And so this program to date, since 2008, has funded over 150 projects with about $10 million invested. It continues to evolve. And stay tuned for the next round of funding here, that they will be available soon. I did want to comment on, make a point here too. Speaking about the diversity of our sector, Kelly was speaking to the University of Waterloo, talent being brought to bear around our complex challenges in the agri-food sector. We're doing that also with our OAPRI program. And the takeaway for this slide here is that there's a tremendous amount of human capital and capacity across this province in Ontario that want to look at the agri-food sector as a place to play, to bring their skills, knowledge, experience, and capacity, sometimes technical skills and infrastructure, to address the challenges for the agri-food sector. And from in a relatively small call that we did, take a look at the diversity of the organizations that are stepping forward to say, we want to be a part of bringing KTT solutions to the table. This is really encouraging. The third piece I want to talk to is about commitment. In the research innovation space, things take time. Think about a breeding program, think about studying animal genetics, for example. Being committed and being able to be dedicated to something over time, that's a big deal. And I hope that, certainly hope when you examine our role in the space that you can see that. I think it's really important to also communicate what you're doing and what you are committed to, but even more so demonstrating it. Some of the Malpass commitments that I want to touch on. I've already mentioned our team of industry-facing specialists. That is a big commitment. Our KTT partnerships also form quite a substantial commitment. I'll also highlight our relationship with the Vineland Research Innovation Corporation as well in that space, in addition to working with Elora. Our commitment with funding over time, certainly something I've touched on, but I really appreciated Kelly mentioning the fact that KTT needs to be embedded in all of our projects and all of our investments, and that's something that we are committed to doing. I've already mentioned our Grow Ontario strategy, so I'm not going to talk about that much more. And I'm also going to touch on our infrastructure commitments in a moment. Oh, that moment is now. So, building the platform and investing in the platforms for research and innovation, where that KTT opportunity can be generated and those partnerships can happen, and those teams can come together, certainly is a commitment. And these commitments are because of industry coming together and saying, we want to be a part of this. It's government having the vision and the leadership through an agency that has a recently refreshed or modernized mandate for the future. And also the researchers and industry that comes up and steps up into investing in this. And this is, I think, a commitment that all of Ontario should be extremely proud of. Accountability is something I wanted to touch on too. I think this is an important part of the model, ensuring that we take responsibility for the things that we say that we are going to do. For government, I think I can't not think big picture. We want to see the betterment of Ontario, the growth of the sector, the long-term sustainability. This comes down to public trust, assurance systems, but also the opportunity to creating that climate, the investment climate where businesses want to come here, grow here, and see that we're doing that in a sustainable way for the next generation. We have an accountability to direct our investments, every project, to be able to to ensure that it is advancing the public good. Not all of our research and investments are going to be completely aligned with public interest, and I think that's well recognized. But we have a big responsibility to also tell the story, to report on what we're achieving, and that's something that in government we need your help with. We can't do that on our own, and I hope that that's a theme that we touch on a bit today. Telling that story of long-term impact. So I mentioned previously that KTT is a part of every funded proposal, but we have a range of tools to recognize that, programming tools to recognize that not all KTT happens right at the end of a project, a research project, as Kelly was mentioning. But it does form a key part of our evaluation process of the risks we're willing to take, the types of projects that we want to support, and also reflects the range of different programs we have to support what I would call applied research. Results is huge. This is a focus on delivering results, but also being able to tell the story around results. So we want to be able to celebrate our successes. I touched on this a little bit. We need to work together on this. It's not something that we can do alone in government. We are taking some steps to put a renewed emphasis on this with my team. So we have under the Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership, you're going to be seeing us telling a bit more of the story of the projects that we've invested in, to not only shine a spotlight on those that are innovating, those that we hope will benefit from the new knowledge, but also to highlight the value of those partnerships and to draw in interest in our programs as well at the same time. So this is really about storytelling, but first of all, of course, achieving results and demonstrating the efficacy of our KTT programs. In our KTT Alliance programs that I mentioned previously, about a third of those have a direct connection to the livestock sector. So that should be heartening for this room. There's a host and a range of different ways in which we've advanced in the KTT space. I'm not going to read everything on the screen here, but everything from biosecurity to precision feeding and many points in between, covering across many different areas of the sector, from aquaculture to alternative livestock, right? So it covers the whole range, and really proud of this long-term sustained commitment. And of course, there's tons online if you want to explore that program a bit more. I'm going to throw up one example, and this is there's a couple points I want to make here. So this is an example really looking at a challenge in the dairy industry that goes back to well, a very long time, back to the early 90s, addressing high immune response and the development of a genetic test to reduce the instance of disease. And we talked about commitment, but also it's important to tell the story around results. And here's an example where you have patents being filed where, as a result of work that's been done before that, up to 1992, but a 20-year pathway to commercialization of an incredible technology that's led to over $130 million of value to the industry and adoption across more than 80 countries. We need to be telling stories like this together. And sometimes it's not an example that where we see the results even in our career time frame. And we need to have that continuity to be able to tell the story. We need to work together to bring these really good examples forward where it is working. I just want to wrap up by talking about funding. Everyone's always excited about funding. I'm excited about funding because my team developed this program and they brought some really good ideas forward, some learnings from our previous round of funding under the Canadian Agricultural Partnership. This is the current framework agreement with the federal government. They've been wonderful partners to help us put together programs like this. I'm going to revert back to a linear model. So I have the awareness to know I use the non-linear model at the beginning. This program really supports applied research and development of new technologies, the ability to demonstrate and pilot those new technologies, and to bring commercialization opportunities further towards the market. Through that, we have a KTT program. It is currently open and open till early January. So this is under the OACI program. Well, Malpass is delivering it. There is a KTT stream that's open. I'm proud to say that it's it has the broadest opportunity of any of our KT programs we've ever had. The definition of KTT, the opportunities across the sector. So I encourage you to look at that. We've got a broad eligibility too, who can come and bring solutions to bear. So do take a look at that program. It complements other programming that's currently open and available. That is what I am highlighting today. So I'll just encourage you as I wrap up here. Thank you for the idea of looking at a team approach. I think it's really great. I'll move away from the complex ecosystem. So who are you building trust with? You embrace healthy conflict? Are you demonstrating a sustained commitment? Are you communicating what you're committed to? And to whom are you accountable? And are you attentive to results? So thank you very much.